What's up, everyone? Eli here, back for another film review. Today we're going to be talking about I Trapped the Devil. There's my DVD copy right there, just standard DVD, nothing fancy. So I Trapped the Devil is an atmospheric horror movie that came out in 2019, directed by Josh Lobo, and this was actually his feature-length debut. It begins with a police officer entering a home. A TV is on, but the screen shows only static, and the officer has a confused and slightly scared look on his face. Fast forwarding now to a different time, the next scene has a married couple Matt and Karen showing up to Matt's brother Steve's house to give him a Christmas gift. Steve seems irritated at Matt and Karen showing up unannounced and tells them both, "It's good to see you, but you need to leave now." Matt talks Steve down a little bit and they have dinner together, but Steve is still looking pretty tense. You hear the house phone ring in the background. Steve gets up to answer it. You don't hear who is on the other end of the line, and Steve doesn't say anything, but he looks very disturbed. Tonally so far, I'm kind of getting Black Coat's Daughter vibes. Check that movie out if you haven't. After the phone call, Steve then asks Matt if he trusts him and says that he has something to show him. You don't see what it is, but Matt returns to Karen looking disturbed and in quite a panic. He then tells her that Steve has a man locked in his basement. Steve takes Karen down to show her as well. The basement is bathed in an ominous red light, and it's tense and creepy paired with the foreboding ambient soundtrack. You don't see who or what Steve has trapped, but he believes it is the devil. Matt wants to talk Steve down slowly and calmly, but Karen wants out of the situation entirely, which is totally fucking rational. It appears that maybe Steve is receiving messages through the static on his TV as well as through his phone calls. You never really do completely get an explanation of that. It's kind of just left, I think, to the viewer to determine. While Steve and Matt are talking upstairs, Karen goes down to the basement to possibly face or free even whoever is captive until the voice on the other side of the door starts talking to her, even addressing her by name. Matt and Karen are now starting to sort of believe Steve, as unstable as he does seem. The movie definitely tries to build tension through atmosphere and by keeping things as vague as possible. Now, I have to say the first act was fairly interesting, or at least part of the first act, but the second act really started to lose me. Steve's explanation as to why he believed the person he has captured to be the devil, in his own words I should add, was to me not super interesting. I also felt like the intended tension didn't quite work as much as it was supposed to. I will say, though, that at least for me, the last act really pulled through. It had the tension that I wanted through the first two acts, but never really got. And I found that to be a bit of a bummer, but it was a great way to tie everything together nonetheless. It kept my attention for that last, half hour or so. It kept me interested, and it kept me guessing as to how exactly the movie would end. Who exactly was trapped in the basement? What did it look like? Was it really the devil like Steve claimed? Or was Steve really just losing his mind? I mean, how exactly do you resolve an issue like this? Because I have no answers or guesses. I'm going to give I Trapped the Devil a 5.5 out of 10. I wanted to give it a higher score, but since I only really enjoyed part of the first act and most of the third act, that's really the best I can do. Anyways, what do you guys think? Have you seen this movie? What score would you give it?